Oh hey, there you are. So we're going to get started on the plumbing on the Sportster. Before we do that, I thought maybe we could cover off some basics on AN fittings, different kinds of threads and fittings you're going to run into doing this sort of thing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to break this into three sections. We're going to do a section on fittings, then we'll do a separate video on hoses, and then a separate video on tools. I think it'll make sense to break it up that way and the video won't get too long and too involved. So, jumping right into it. AN fittings. What does AN stand for? AN is Army Navy. So this spec was developed by the Army and Navy. You'll see a lot of AN fittings, typically those red and blue ones on aircraft, all kinds of military applications. So the spec is fairly simple. It's a 37-degree taper or flare. The dash number on an AN fitting, so AN dash, let's say 6/16 of an inch, which reduces to 3/8. The 3/8 refers to the outside diameter of the tube. So the outside diameter of the could be aluminum tube, whatever kind of metal is being used, steel tube. So the type of tube doesn't really matter, but the outside diameter of that hard line or tubing would be 3/8. Reason being, when they started making these, the only measurement that was really critical was the size that I don't have one here, but the size that the nut and the sleeve would go on the tubing. So for that reason, it's based on tubing. It really doesn't tell you what the inside diameter is, because of course, depending on the material used, depending on the manufacturer, the wall thickness of the tubing may have varied. So inside diameter really isn't, it's critical to what you do, but it doesn't really have any bearing on the fitting size. So you have common sizes are -3, -4, -6, -8, -10, and so on up to, I think, -32. So that's what the AN refers to. And as I was saying, the taper or flare is a 37-degree. These are AN threads, and the male, sorry, wrong size. The male, here we go. The male just goes into the female, threads on. The female side also has, and being black, you probably can't see it in there, but there is a 37-degree taper in there as well. And those go together and create a seal on that flare. So that's what AN fittings are about. I should tell you too quickly that the AN dash number has, from what I can tell, nothing to do with hose. Hoses came along, I think, probably after Hardline did. The hose dash 6 3/8, that's not the inside diameter of the hose. It's not the outside diameter of the hose. It really doesn't seem to match up to the hose, other than I'm sure that somehow the fitting, the flow, the inside of the fitting, whatever, the hose winds up being whatever the hose is. Good manufacturers will tell you what the inside diameter of their hose is. And we'll look at hoses shortly. On that note about manufacturers, I want to touch on a couple things real quick here. Vibrant Performance. I like Vibrant Performance stuff. Very nice fittings, nice finishes. It seems like a real quality product. Their hoses are good. Everything that Vibrant makes is good, and they make some great tools as well. So if you go to the Vibrant Performance website, their fluid, what do they call it? Fluid delivery, I think is the heading on their website. And it dives into all kinds of fittings, adapters, catch cans, shut-off valves like we're using on the gas tanks on the bobber. Fuel filters that I've ordered one of those up, a real nice inline, small, compact micron, 80 micron filter. Really, really nice stuff. So if you're looking to figure out what kind of fittings you need and everything, Vibrant Performance website, excellent. If you want to know more about how to put hoses together, then Jegs has a great video on their website. It covers most of the standard stuff. Well, I guess all of the standard stuff. Anyway, I watched that video the other day. Very good video for assembly. The other source for information on this is on YouTube, a guy who calls himself Hot Rod Hippie, and I'll put his name in the description below. Hot Rod Hippie, great videos. I really like a lot of the stuff he does, but he does a very good one on AN fittings. He also does a lot of hardline stuff. Looks like he does a lot of stainless steel. Boy, his hardline is really nice. He does some nice bends. He's got some really good tools. He seems to do a really good job, so I really like his stuff. All right, back to our fittings and adapters here. So common on a motorcycle or a race car, the kind of application we're working on, you have fittings that are an AN fitting to a hose. You as well can find fittings, as I say, there's a sleeve and nut for on hardline. So if you were to get half-inch aluminum fuel line, there's a sleeve that goes over that, a nut. You put a 37-degree flare on the end of the line and mate it up to this kind of thing right here. So that's hardline, and like I say, I don't have any here because I don't think I'm going to use any hardline on the Sportster. So you have hose to AN fitting. You also have NPT, which I always thought stood for National Pipe Thread. Found out last week it doesn't. It stands for National Pipe Taper Thread. So National Pipe Taper is a tapered thread that seals. You can probably see the taper on that. So it's meant to seal because as this threads in, you're putting a larger diameter into a smaller diameter thread. So you're tightening that in, and it's going to get I guess what's probably a compression seal on those threads. So NPT, very common sizes of NPT, 1/8 NPT. This is quarter, just so you know, this is eighth. So that gives you an idea size-wise, the difference in them. So these are very common sizes that you're going to run into. On the AN side, I believe that -4 and -6 is going to be typical for just about everything on a motorcycle. -3 is pretty small. -8 is getting pretty big. That would be 8/16 or ½ inch. So that gets pretty big. These fittings across the top here. So these are -4. So this is a -4 hose to -4 AN. 90 degree, 45 degree, that's a straight, and this is a female to female union, and I don't have it in a -4, but in a -6, this is a -6 to -6 male coupler or union, whatever the proper term is for that. On -6 stuff, I just wanted to show you here, I have the same thing. I have 90, I have 45, I also have a 120, and we'll see where that's going to come into play on the bobber with the gas tanks. We'll be diving into that as we start making hoses. As well, there's a straight. Unfortunately, I don't have it in a solid black, but that's a straight -6 hose to fitting. Other specialty fittings and things that you'll be able to use, and I will tell you, I've never found a situation where I couldn't come up with a solution to make things together and run a braided line. So if you're dealing with a hard line, and let me just grab something here. So if you're dealing with a hard line or tubing, and in this case, a fuel shutoff, and the outlet on the fuel shutoff, this is a typical Harley one for a Sportster tank that I was using. So this outlet typically has a shoulder or a ball on the end here. You put the hose on, put a worm clamp on it, now it can't slide off. So what I did was I picked up a compression fitting, and it has a -AN male, and on this side it has a ferrule and a nut. So I took this to my belt grinder. I carefully ground off the ridge or the bump, whatever you want to call that, and made it so that the nut and then the ferrule would fit on here. And as long as that ferrule is down even with the tube, then this side goes on. And the way this thing is designed, there we go. The way this thing is designed is that now you thread these together, it compresses that ferrule, which tightens it on the tubing, makes a compression seal there. I used one of these on the Kawasaki KZ440 that I did. Then I was able to put a nice dash line on here and run it down to the carburetor. Looked real slick on the side of the bike. So that's a compression fitting. And as I say, there's another one there that I did the other night. I thought I was going to use that on the oil pump. It didn't work out, but we'll see that later as well. The other things you can get, here's a T fitting. This is a -6T. So what I'm going to do, you can get caps for these dash fittings. So this is going to be in line from the oil tank to the oil pump. And on here I'll put a cap, and I'm going to mount this slightly facing down in line with the pump. So that when I do an oil change, I just take this cap off and my oil drains out here. So it drains from the tank and it drains anything that's in the pump. So that's how I'm going to use that T. There's couplers. These are kind of cool. These are bulkhead connectors. These are -4. Bulkhead connector, you have to buy a couple nuts to work with them. But what happens here is you drill a hole that accepts up to this shoulder. I haven't measured this yet, but so that the threads can clear, obviously. This seats in against a flat surface. The nut comes on, and you can tighten the nut down, and you have a second nut as a lock nut. You could sandwich something between the nuts as well if that works out better. So that's a 45-degree bulkhead, -4 to -4. This is a straight bulkhead connector, again -4 to -4. And this is another interesting one. This is a male -6 Y connector. So with the gas tanks, with the two lines running, and that's where this 120-degree fitting comes into play, these will mount and come back to the shutoffs on the tank, and then I'll run one fuel line, a -6, down to the carburetor. So you'll see how that works in a while here as well, but that's a Y connector. So that's a bit of a rundown on AN fittings, a little bit about threads you're gonna run into. Like I said, Vibrant Performance website, a great job of laying all this stuff out. I was going to show you NPT to dash sizes. Again, very common. Straight, 45, 90 in all sizes. This is quarter to dash 4. This is eighth to dash 6. This is quarter to dash 6. So just all kinds of different fittings to use, and I'm sure you can make something work given any application. So I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to get some hose out here, and I'll do the next segment on hose. All right, back to you soon. Thanks.